Hey y'all, so I'm the girl in question that she's talking about in this video. I know y'all live for the drama, live for the mess, so I'm just going to tell the full story here. I did not want to bring this to social media originally, and this was not a discussion we had beforehand. But for me to wake up and see that my information is put for millions of people to see, I'm not looking for people to choose sides. If we're going to tell the story, let's put the whole thing out there. If we're going to lie, let's have full receipts, okay? Let's tell the full story. Also, just a disclaimer, in general, I'm a kind-hearted person. I do not like making nasty remarks. Throughout this whole time, this whole conversation, I'm sitting here trying to be transparent with her. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to communicate. And this is what I get in return. So again, if we want to add fuel to the fire, let's tell the whole story. First and foremost, Tina, the girl in question, the one whose video I'm stitching, is someone that I met in Jamaica. I met her recently in Jamaica for a friend's wedding in September. She and I have no previous relationship, no previous friendship. I truly can't even call her a friend outside of that, and definitely not after this. Also, just a heads up, this story is kind of long, and I want to make sure I'm telling the full story. I'm adding all context, I'm adding all receipts, so I will be making a couple of parts just to make sure we're getting the full story. And once everything's out there, there's nothing else to add or take away because this is the full story. This is it. So that being said, I met her in Jamaica. I as well met a friend for who the context of the story I will call Maya. Maya and I have kind of kept in touch since September. Haven't heard from Tina, but she was cool people. She was fun to hang with, good time. Maya reaches out to me and says, "Hey Deja, would you like to come on a trip to Aspen? These are the dates." No prices discussed, nothing in terms of an itinerary. It is just, would you like to come? Sure. I work in travel, so I don't have to worry about flight expenses. So automatically in my head, I'm thinking, oh, okay, a trip to Aspen sounds fun, girl trip. That's about as much context as I have. So initially I say yes, and I'm thinking, okay, we'll have a conversation about expenses eventually. So at this point, I still have not spoken to Tina. I am just thrown into a group chat. There are 7 people total in this group chat. In this group chat, the initial conversation, I was added on January 11th. The initial conversation was nothing but people sharing their names and their social media. There is no talk about plans in Aspen originally, nothing about where we're staying, no itinerary, just, oh, we should add each other to a chat. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to get cute. I think the initial plan was to go out and take pictures. But mind you, I was thrown into this chat at a later time. So I think Tina originally made the plan with her friends, and I'm just thrown in, so I don't have the full context of what this trip is supposed to be to begin with. Okay, so starting here, I will be adding receipts, adding context. So this is the date that I'm added, January 11th. Obviously, based off of this, there was previous conversation, but this is where I enter the conversation. They're talking about a ride. Maya adds me and says, I'm coming. This is the message that I send. Mind you, throughout this entire time, throughout this entire conversation, I've sent maybe 3 or 4 messages, whereas Tina made it seem like I am just responding the entire time and then suddenly go ghost. Once again, adding our social media, introducing ourselves, no talk about prices, just where are we staying, Airbnb. Again, no prices are discussed. This is just people chatting, people talking. Scroll down a little bit. Again, people aren't listing prices. No Airbnbs have been sent at this point. It is just discussion of what could possibly happen out in Aspen. Okay, we're cracking jokes, yada, yada, yada. Tubing sounds like a blast. This is my last message other than 1 heart. That's it. This is my contribution to the conversation that she swears up and down. She was responsive the whole time. She agreed to come on this trip. That's the last message I sent. And again, I will be adding receipts. I'll be adding proof. On the 13th, she starts sending places. This is where stuff starts getting lost in translation. She says everybody was in agreement. Everybody said yes. She's just sending places and people are either not responding or maybe putting a thumbs up. Again, I will add it in just a moment. But keep in mind there are 7 people in this chat. No one is saying yes. No one's saying no. No one's verbalizing anything. It is just a couple of thumbs up. Okay, so fast forward a bit. Again, January 13th. Mind you, this is January 11th, I was added to the chat and asked if I wanted to come to Aspen. The trip is supposed to be February 25th through 28th, 29th, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So this is where stuff starts getting interesting. It is now January 17th. Tina's posting Airbnbs. Room is 406. One heart. This is what she's claiming everyone agreed to. Someone says works for me. Works for me. One person out of 7. I haven't said anything. She continues to send us a few places. And this is the major part she leaves out. The Airbnbs that she's sending initially were $400. Mind you, on the 17th, that same day, I actually messaged Tina myself, reaching out to her and concerns about the price. So let me rewind a little bit and show you that. Let me rewind just a little bit because I want to make sure I'm adding full context. So as I previously stated, January 13th is when she first starts listing Airbnbs. No one's saying yes. No one's saying no. There might be a heart. There might be a thumbs up, but there's no verbal confirmation from anyone. The 17th is when she starts sending additional Airbnbs and she starts talking about prices. I message her on the side and I say, hey girl, I'm trying to gauge the price of everything because I'm not sure about my financial budgeting. I'm about to add this, but I messaged her on the side before anything was booked on January 17th. Once again, here's proof, here's receipts. Hey girl, I'm good on my flight out to Aspen. Let me add some context here as well. I'm good for the flight because I work and travel. I travel for work, meaning that I don't have to pay for the flight. And I'm pretty sure I said that in the beginning, but I want to make it clear again that it wasn't just that I booked a flight and bailed out last minute or that I 100% agreed. I showed y'all I was thrown into a chat. People are just now discussing prices. There's no clear itinerary. And I make it clear from the beginning. Hey, I'm just trying to gauge the price. I also have another friend's birthday coming up and I'm trying to properly plan my finances. This is her response. Yes, just sent listings. Same, I don't want it to be too expensive. You can read the rest. Okay. So again, I will be getting back to that, but I just wanted to show that that was a conversation. I reached out to her beforehand. This was the 17th. She says, after this, is this okay? She gives 2 thumbs up and she says, okay, everybody pay $400 and I will pay the rest. She conveniently left this out in her video. $400 is not $525. Those aren't the same 2 numbers. And I will be adding that here. Okay, once again, these are original Airbnb she's posting. 405 a person, heart your fave. I put a heart on one of them. I think you can see it on one of the other pictures, but that's it. So all I've said so far is my name, my social media. Snowboarding sounds great. There's no blue messages in any of this. And no one's saying anything either. A heart? This is not an agreement. So no one's saying anything, but you said $400. If everyone does 400, I'll pay the rest. If everyone does $400, I will pay the rest. If everyone does $400, I will pay the rest. And the reason I'm emphasizing this is because she's trying to make it sound like people are broke. She's trying to make it sound like communication wasn't had. And she's trying to make it sound like everyone gave a consensus where you all could clearly see there was no yes, there was no no. It was maybe a thumbs up or a heart. But at this point, 400 is something I'm willing to do. So after this, someone starts mentioning a jacuzzi. Some people are like, oh, if we're going to do Aspen, let's do Aspen. Tina sends a new place with a listing and says the total will be $28.33 with fees. With fees means you included taxes. That's how I understand with fees. At the time, there are 7 people in the chat. $28.33 with fees, as she claimed, divided by 7 is about $400. $409 to be exact, I believe. $409. Again, for context. $28.33 with fees included. 2 hearts. That's so nice. No one said, yes, let's pick it. Let's go with it. She doesn't discuss price beforehand. Y'all tell me why the next day she sends a screenshot talking about it's been booked. Everyone owes $525. Send your funds. What? So you went from everybody pay $400, I'll cover the rest to it's now $525. I will add the receipt. One person says that's so nice. One person says love it. Nothing for me. This is a receipt. These prices aren't matching up with a $28.66. Booked. Total in person, $525. No discussion beforehand. Part 2 coming up. Alrighty, folks, this is part 2. Again, just wanting to give full context of the conversation. I am the person, the infamous girl that she's talking about in this video for the girls trip. Again, part 1 gives full context of how I was added into the chat, what my relationship to this girl is, and what our conversation and my contribution to this conversation has been to this point. Okay, so mind you, she doesn't get confirmation from anyone. She just books and posts a receipt and says everyone owes $525. So again, this is a close-up of the receipt that's in that previous video where she told us everyone pay $400, I'll cover the rest. Then the next day, apparently we had a new Airbnb where she said fees were included. And now we're at this same place where fees were included. Not sure where she got the numbers from, but this is now the new total. And she says everyone owes $525 each. This is the rest of the conversation, booked. No one says anything. When will everyone be sending their funds? One person says Friday's payday. Is that okay? I was going to send half now. There's 7 people in this chat and only 2 people are responding. And I'm removed not too long after this. So like, she's trying to make it seem like I said, yes, that's fine. I said, yes, that's okay. That didn't come out of my mouth and no one else here is saying that's fine. Okay, so at this point, I take full accountability and I'll say I dropped the ball here. As I previously mentioned, I did reach out to her on January 17th, saying I was concerned about the price. However, I should have made it more clear, but again, as shown in the messages, she said $400, then all of a sudden we were at $525, and it was never discussed beforehand. So at this point, the place is already booked. So I'm trying to figure out my finances. I'm trying to sit here and wonder how to go about this because it's already been booked, it's already on her card, and I'm just trying to figure it out. And again, maybe I should have advocated and spoke up for myself more, but I was just between a rock and a hard place because this place is already booked. It's on her card. Like, there was no conversation about whether I was okay with the price beforehand. So on January 31st, Tina reaches out to me again asking if I'll be going on the trip, and I'll be adding this here. Okay, so January 31st, mind you, I reached out to her on the 17th asking to gauge the price. She never discusses price with me before booking. On the 31st, she says, hey girl, were you still coming on the trip? I respond, hey, my money's looking a little tight. I also don't want to affect the cost of the group for the Airbnb. So I'm just being honest. I never said yes or no. I'm just telling her like, hey, you know, my money's looking tight. Like, we still have not set a clear itinerary and you're already talking about $500 for like 3 nights in Denver. She says, tight as in you don't think you'll make the trip, or tight as in you don't want to do excursions. LOL, it's lighthearted. I say tight as in by the time I covered everything, I'd be hurting. I'm good on my flight because, mind you, again, I work and travel. I don't pay for my flight. So she's trying to make it sound like, again, I booked a flight and then I bailed out last minute. That's not what happened. I said I'm good for the flight because, again, it's covered by my job. I'd be able to cover the cabin because, again, I have money for it, but I'm thinking it's going to be $400 and an extra $125 can go towards clothes, towards food, something, right? Like, there's not a clear budget that's been set anywhere. So I say I have the money for the cabin, but I won't have a lot of wiggle room to cover other things necessary. Meaning that if I have to come, if I have to make it work, I can, but I won't be able to do anything else. I am being transparent. I'm not telling her, screw you. I'm not saying screw this trip. I'm not communicating with her because I told her to begin with money was a concern. At this point, it's already booked and I'm trying to work with her. This is my fault and I shouldn't have done that. But again, I'm just being honest and transparent. It's all right here. Lighthearted. Okay, no worries. The choice is definitely yours. I know as far as food goes, we'll probably be making food. I think everyone's going to do one excursion. Definitely put you first, but let me know whatever you decide. The choice is definitely yours, friend. Definitely put you first. Let me know what you decide. So at this point, I asked to talk to her the next day. I say, okay, I don't want to throw y'all off a bunch in terms of price. I think I asked her if this would affect the rest of the group, and I want to get back to her tomorrow. Okay, here goes again. Okay, would that throw y'all off a bunch in terms of price? I don't want to affect the group. I'm being mindful of the people that are in this chat. It'll be an extra $105 per person. I said, can I let you know for sure tomorrow? Of course. So this is the problem. She lied on me and said I never got back to her. I reached out to her the next day. It's blue. Hey, I did my financial planning for the month and it's looking like Aspen isn't going to be in the budget for me. I reached out the next day, not her. Oh no, okay. I'm going to try to save my money up for the girl's birthday. Hopefully I can see you there. There is no mentions of a late fee. There's no mentions of finding a replacement. Nothing. She says, put yourself first, girl. I get it. So this is the thing. This was on January 31st. Put yourself first, girl. Don't worry about it. Put yourself first. I understand people got to pay for their own stuff. She even said it in her video. But now you're twisting the story and saying I never got back to you, where I just showed y'all proof that I did, one. And two, you said put yourself first. So for you to try to come on here and make my character seem like it's something different than what it is just ridiculous. I'm being very mindful of everyone. I'm thinking about them when honestly, I could have just been like, I ain't got it, girl, and peaced out. But that's not how I went about it. I'm very transparent in all of this. So again, she says, you're good, girl. So I start putting my money elsewhere. I start budgeting wherever else I need to. That's just the whole thing. So 2 weeks later, this previous Sunday, she texts me talking about, hey girl, would you mind sending half for your last minute pullout? Pardon me? Sunday, 2 weeks later after you told me, do you, girl? It's fine. Hey, do you mind paying half of the Airbnb due to last minute cancellation? We weren't able to find someone to replace your spot. Replace what spot? You just told me it was fine. What would be considered half? Because I'm thinking surely she's not asking for half of something she said was fine. Would there be any alternatives? I reached out to you before the Airbnb was booked to express my concern about the price. And then again, once I realized I wouldn't be able to afford it, I double checked with you ahead of time that it wouldn't affect the overall trip and the overall group. And there was no mention of me having to pay a cancellation fee or having to find a replacement. So I don't see fit for me having to pay half. I am sitting here having this whole conversation with her. Half would be $262. I believe that I said it'd be an extra $105 a person, yada, yada, yada. I can let everyone know that they would just have to pay the extra amount. The room was booked on the 26th. Give me a second to respond. I'm on this flight. So she knows my occupation, mind you. I finally got a free moment, and I'll show you that message in just a moment. But throughout all of this, I'm just wondering, like, what audacity to come back to someone 2 weeks later to ask them for some money for a trip that they're not going on. And the fact that you booked it means you had the money. So you're not hurting for that $262. So why are you harassing me about it and calling me broke? I don't get it. But everyone doesn't want to pay an extra $100 and I'm the brokey? I don't want to pay that amount to go to Colorado. I travel for work. I've been to Colorado. So unless I'm paying that for excursions, it just doesn't make sense to pay that, one. And two, I have other stuff that I financially need to plan for. And I told you that ahead of time. Again, I finally caught a free moment. I don't have $262 to put towards a trip because I'm not going at this point. Why would I pay you almost $300 to not go? When I expressed my concern about my monthly budgeting and you told me it was up to me, I put my money elsewhere. I'm covering my bills. I said I totally understand on wanting the trip to fall apart. I apologize for pulling out. I was expecting the trip to be a different amount based off of the group chat because she said y'all pay $400. $525 came out of nowhere, and I'm still in constant communication. And I said maybe I just misunderstood her. The next day, she is on here making videos and twists and stories. And in the first video, y'all did y'all big one. Y'all ate her up in those comments because what she was saying didn't make any sense. Then she starts twisting this story to try to make it fit for her. Moral of the story is, y'all blew that video up. She got millions of views. She's now got more than that portion back. She's got her money back. So now she's just milking it. This is all social media. This is all marketing. She's a creative. She's a smart girl. She did her big one with that one. But I figured if we're going to lay it out, even if this doesn't get views like that, let's just tell the full story. Let's get the full context. Mind you, by the way, she said we're all grown. We're all at least 25. I'm 25 and she's 32. Sit and think about that. You are 32 acting like this when you could have just talked to me, playing nice on my messages and coming on here and playing mean girl. Girl, bye.
I'm just here to answer the question that the girl Tina asked.
Hey guys, so I just wanted to come back on here and address a few things in regards to this video. If you go back to my page, you'll see the original video that I stitched along with my part 1, part 2. You know, you can follow along. There's a lot of information, but Bear with me. So the girl that I am now stitching is someone who gave their think piece based off of Tina's original narrative. And again, if you don't know who Tina is, go back, follow on the page. Long story short, she came on here asking, am I the asshole? Which is what I'm stitching now. She was saying, am I the asshole for asking me for money 2 weeks later? I made a video stating the facts. Now, whether you agree or disagree, or you think I'm right, I'm wrong, that's fine. I never made my video to try to get people to be on my side. It was more so just to share my side and to just give the full story. Now, for those of you that are saying I didn't need to come to social media with this, it was already on social media. Additionally, how am I supposed to advocate for myself when information is being put on social media by someone who has way more followers than me, way more people to view a story that's not true? So again, the reason I came on here was to share my side of the story and to at least get some information out there and tell the full one. You can agree or disagree. I'm not really asking for anyone's opinion. I'm not really asking to be told like I'm right, she's wrong. Like that's not what the purpose of any of this was. Whereas in her, she was asking if she's the asshole. I was more so saying, here's a full story. So there's a few things I wanted to address. Firstly, for those of you that are questioning whether or not I was even planning on going, yes. Now, when they asked me if I'd be interested, no prices were mentioned. They just said, would you be interested in a trip? Sure. And in my mind, since flights are covered, I'm thinking, okay, this should be in budget for me if people disclose what it would be ahead of time. I even went out of my way to message Tina to begin with, telling her like, hey, I'm good on my flight. Again, that's not saying I paid for my flight. That's just saying I'm good for it because it's covered for whatever reason. The reason doesn't matter. I'm good on my flight. I'm trying to gauge the price of everything. That's not me saying I'm 100% going. It's saying I'm trying to financially budget and plan for the month. For those of you that are saying I shouldn't have had to budget or plan to begin with, I don't know. I thought that was financially responsible. Again, not looking for your opinion, just telling you the story as it is. Tina has since gone on later to say, well, Aspen is a luxury trip. If you didn't have it, you should have just said that. Cool. When I sent you that text, that is 100% the opportunity to say, Deja, honestly, this is a luxury trip. If you're budgeting, you probably shouldn't come. You knew from the get-go that money was a concern for me and it was a determining factor on whether or not I was going to come. Additionally, I was planning on coming. Again, as I showed in the last video, this is the total price for everything. There's a lot of discrepancies about what it should have been and how this price was split up. Just to be very clear, I was willing to go when the price was $400, especially when Tina said, if y'all pay $400, I'll cover the rest. Additionally, even when you do the math here, there's 7 people in the group chat. 7 people. If you split this by 7, it is still $409. Which is why I'm very confused about her doubling back and saying everyone owes $525. I don't really know what the math was there, but that's not a number I originally agreed to. Again, agree or disagree, I'm just laying it out there. That's what it was. Again, for those of you that are saying if you didn't have it, I should have just never agreed to come. Let's break it down. I never said I didn't have it. I said I was trying to budget. Y'all do not know what said budget was. Let's say my budget was $1,000. Even with the $1,000, $525 is over half. Over half of the budget to just lay my head down for 3 days. Agree or disagree, if you feel like that's worth it, cool. It's not coming out of your pocket. You're not the one paying the bill. But I just wanted to clear that up because I even say here like, hey, my money's looking a little tight. I don't want to affect the group and the cost of the Airbnb. She clarified, tight as in you don't think you'll make the trip, or tight as in you don't want to do excursion. Again, let me clear this up because people are making it sound like I'm just making excuses when I knew 100% I wasn't coming. Once again, that's not what happened. I was okay with coming, but I thought the price would be $400. Additionally, at this point, the Airbnb is already booked. So if you feel like I owe money, I might as well go on the trip is where my head is at, right? So I'm telling her tight as in by the time I covered everything, I'd be hurting. Not saying I don't have the money, not even saying at this point that I'm not coming. I'm telling her that if I did come, right, from whatever budget I had set in my mind, I could cover this, but it's just not leaving a lot of wiggle room for whatever extra. Mind you, this doesn't include clothes. This doesn't include food. We haven't established what excursions. We haven't stuff just adds up, which is why I said from the beginning, I'm trying to budget. Agree or disagree, I'm just sharing my thought process. No worries, the choice is definitely yours, friend. I even doubled back and I said, well, would this throw y'all off a bunch in terms of price? A lot of y'all were saying, why would I ask this anyways if like I wasn't willing to pay money or whatever the narrative was? I'm asking this because I'm trying to be considerate of other people, which maybe I just shouldn't have been to begin with. But it's me making acknowledgement of like, okay, this has already been booked. Is this completely going to throw y'all off if I pull out? If I owe extra money for cancellation or whatever, now is the golden opportunity to tell me so and not doubling back 2 weeks later. Agree or disagree? Doesn't matter. I'm just sharing my point of view and putting the information out there. For those of you that are thinking, well, you shouldn't have asked about the group anyway, it is what it is. It happened. I reached out the next day. I did my financial planning for the month. It's looking like Aspen won't be in the budget. Oh no, okay. 2 weeks later, you can see here Sunday. Do you mind paying half of the Airbnb due to the last minute cancellation? What's the last minute cancellation? Because we've talked, at least in my mind. A lot of you say I could have communicated better. Fine, but we did communicate. Me asking what would be considered half is because I'm confused about where this is coming from, and I'm thinking surely I don't owe half money for a trip I'm not going on. You can see the rest of the message basically saying like, I reached out to you beforehand expressing my concern. Once again, once I realized it wasn't in budget, you never mentioned that I had to find a replacement. You never said that I owe a late fee. Like, where is this coming from? That being said, at this point in time, she's already made her money back. So let's be very clear. Tina has made a video saying this is not about money, just to continue to talk about money and then call me broke when she's already gotten her money back. The original video has over 1 million views, which means you've well gotten over that $262 or even that $500 that you felt like I owed you. So why is this even a conversation that's continuing? Also, I am not the only person not responding in this group, and I don't understand why I'm the only one catching all the smoke. Here's the tea. You had the original narrative. You had the story in the palms of your hand. Literally don't even own a TikTok until it's time for me to address this. Meaning that if you had the upper hand, you could have told the full story and let it be what it is. You twist and contort the story to sound a certain way to make yourself look a little bit better. It's social media, it is what it is. But it's funny how your story changes once I share the full one. In my full story, I had never said I wanted people to take my side. Never said I was right. Never said that, I handled it the best way possible. I just said I want to make sure the full story is out there if we're going to talk about it. Which, with you having the upper hand, how is the story so inconsistent? It went from, oh, this ain't about money, to, oh, she was so active in the chat, to, oh, she agreed she would pay this money to begin with, or I just assumed. If you assumed I'd pay, why double back 2 weeks later? Why go on and on about money that you claim isn't even important to you, especially when you've already gotten the money back? How am I suddenly just a +1 who was never supposed to come on the trip to begin with? Why did it take me coming on here to tell the full story for yours to start changing? Why am I the only one taking accountability? Why are the numbers not adding up when we split it by 7? Questions that have yet to be answered. The main ones coming my way are, well, if you weren't coming on the trip, why didn't you address it? I've already said my piece. Agree or disagree, that's fine. I'm just sharing the full story. She's beating around the bush and pointing fingers, taking no accountability. And what's crazy is I've never spoken bad on that girl either. So again, I don't know where all of this is coming from. Also, I don't know where this narrative is coming from that said someone offered to pay for my stuff. I showed y'all all the messages. No one has reached out to me. And it suddenly became, oh, well, the only thing you had to pay for was your cabin. According to who? Again, very interesting that the story and the narrative changed once my story came out. Because if my stuff was paid for, you would have said that in your first video. You would have been like, this girl's broke because all she had to pay for was a cabin. That's not what you said. Funny how the narrative changed once my story came out. As always, here's receipts. Flight, food, and excursions were free. Goodbye. Don't make sense. Here's me. Who offered to pay for my food and excursions? Where did this narrative even come from? One thing about me, I'ma have my facts, my receipts, take full accountability. You don't have to agree with me. You can say we were both dead wrong. Full stories out there. And I'm not asking for your opinion.